New York City is a bustling, culture-filled combination of architecture and arts. Many of the buildings have historical significance. This is no surprise considering the fact that New York City's Ellis Island welcomes immigrants from all over the world who bring along their own unique cultures and religions. Although the Pilgrims did not come through Ellis Island, they did bring many aspects of their culture with them. Plymouth Church of the Pilgrims is a historical church in Brooklyn, New York that was opened in 1847 as the first congregational church in Brooklyn.
Lois Rosebrooks is the Director of Ministry Services of Plymouth Church. She's been volunteering at the church for quite some time, and she knows a lot about its rich history.
Well, many of these people coming from New England wanted their own form of worship. They wanted their own style of architecture. And so they started forming congregational churches. And the first one here in Brooklyn was Church of the Pilgrims. And that's only about 6 blocks from here. The building is still here in Brooklyn, but it's now Our Lady of Lebanon Church. This particular church was organized in 1847. They bought an old Presbyterian church where they moved in to begin with. And when they decided they were going to build this sanctuary, they said they didn't want dark wood, they didn't want a high pulpit, and they wanted it more like their New England churches had been. So when you look around, you see white, and you see a shorter platform, and not a high pulpit at all. In fact, Beecher did not use a pulpit. He used like a little table or a desk to put his notes on. The evidence is that this was a stop on the Underground Railroad, and if he had not been involved in it, it would not have happened. And a number of the members were part of the Underground Railroad. We have documentation that Charles B. Ray, an Underground Railroad conductor, stopped fugitive slaves here at Plymouth Church, Henry Ward Beecher's Plymouth Church. We know that he held the mock auctions to free people. And we know from looking at the treasurer's reports of the church that there was a lot of money coming in and going out to support either the Underground Railroad conductors, safe homes, or buying the freedom of people. We believe that they would have been held in the basement of the church. It would have been the safest place. There would not have been outside entrances to the basement back at that time. You had to come into the building in order to be taken down personally by someone in the church to the basement area. Beecher could not have been alone. We know that Lewis Tappan was here, and he was the head of the anti-slavery movement here in New York, and also the head of the American Missionary Association. And both organizations were very much against slavery and helping people get to freedom. We are finding out other members that were involved in this, and we feel that it had to be a number of people because Beecher could not have done it by himself, nor could they have done it by themselves without his approval.
The person behind me is Mr. Beecher. He was in charge of Plymouth Church for many years, from 1847 on. And during this time, we had problems in America about the slaves, and so that they would have some kind of meeting here every Sunday. People would come on boats from Manhattan all the way across to Brooklyn Heights and have these meetings so that they could talk about how not to have slavery anymore. And so some people then decided to have a collection, and they would collect all of the jewelry or the money or things that people wanted to give to save the slaves. And one particular weekend, they saved a little girl named and Mr. Beecher came up and said, you know, you are now free. They gave the money to the owner of the slave, and she was allowed to go free. Now, many years later, as you will see when you go into the church, right behind his statue is a case where the ring was returned by her relatives, either her grandchild or great-grandchild. Somebody came up and returned the ring to, I guess, the person in charge now, and it is sitting in the case inside.
The Congregationalists to people coming over from England, because they were breaking away from the Church of England and also from Catholicism. They did not want any icons or idolatry in their churches. And so you see more plainness in these churches. You don't see much that you could say is really an idolic symbol or a religious symbol of any kind. Even the cross that you see here was put here in the 1990s. In Beecher's day, there was no cross. In the 1990s, we said, we can have a cross. We can deal with this, you know. So churches evolve just like everything else. Putting in stained glass windows would have been an influence from the Victorian days when stained glass windows became popular. I'm not sure that Reverend Beecher would have had them. However, I do think that he would have approved of the theme of the windows, that they were not religious per se. In other words, you don't have any saints in these windows or pictures of angels or Jesus Christ in the windows, because he would feel that that would take away from you personally being involved in your scriptures. Growth of technology, I would influence the art and architecture in the church. Not really. This is a historic building, and so it has not changed inside at all. And outside we can't change either, because we're in a preserved area. We're preserving one of the landmark areas of New York City, the first one actually in New York City. So we can't change outside without getting special permission for it. And we're now a landmark church as far as the national parks are concerned, so we don't change much. What has changed? The organ has computer in it. In many ways, how does our church differ from other churches and cathedrals? Every church has its own, what I want to say is atmosphere. And some of that is dictated by the architecture of the church. And so if you were to go up to the Presbyterian church here, you'd go in and find a lot of dark wood. You'd find stained glass windows. You find a pulpit that's a little bit higher than ours. And that was customary with the Presbyterians. Same, if you go to the Episcopal church down the street, you're going to find stained glass windows, you're going to find dark wood again, and you're going to have a divided chancel where you have a preaching pulpit and a speaking pulpit where they give the scriptures, and the choir sits in the chancel facing each other. That's customary of that type of church. So each church is a little bit different. And what first influenced me to become interested and involved in this church was the music program. When I first came to New York, I wanted a music teacher, a voice teacher. And I had been studying with a voice teacher from Westminster Choir College in New Jersey. I wrote to them and asked if they had someone here in New York that was a graduate of Westminster Choir College, because I wanted the same methodology. And they gave me the name of the music director here at Plymouth Church, and they said, go sing for him, and if he doesn't take you on to give you lessons and to help you, at least he'll know somebody. So I came in to sing for him. I was working in a church on Long Island, and I came in, sang for him. He said, I'll take you on as a student. And so I would come in weekly to take a voice lesson with him, and then at Christmas time, when they were doing the special music, he asked me to come in and be a ringer in the choir, what they call a ringer in the choir, and to sing in a choir program. And that was my first introduction to walking into this sanctuary.
For over 100 years, Plymouth Church has been imperative to New York. It has a remarkable history and plays an important role in the community. It helped slaves attain freedom, and today, Plymouth Church still plays a role in the community as an educational center. As New York continues to change and grow, Plymouth Church will remain to be a safe and loving place where people look for real answers to real problems.